Hello, I'm Gemma and this is Non-Fic Books, and today I wanted to have a little bit of a chatty video about why I love non-fiction books. To understand how I started to read a lot of non-fiction books, I'm going to tell you a tiny bit about me. I'm not employed, I work on my home. We bought a do-me-upper a couple of years ago and recently I've stopped working to be able to actually do the renovations on the house. So my day-to-day life involves stripping wallpaper, painting, doing some carpentry to a small extent, and it's really interesting and I have learnt a lot because I didn't know how to do a lot of these things before I started renovating the house, but it doesn't challenge me intellectually as I was used to at university, which I left quite a long time ago now, and I've always really been someone who loves learning. If I don't know about a subject, I will happily admit that, but I would love to know about it, unless it's sports, and in that case I'm not really fussed about who won what or how a sportsman got to be where he was, so sports biographies are definitely not something that will be appearing on this channel. But other than that, I love finding out about new things, about different cultures, about new areas of the world, about just how different people saw themselves or see themselves, about different time periods. I studied archaeology, so I am quite a history nut, and that'll definitely be a lifelong interest for me. So you may see a slight bent towards historical books in the books that I pick, but that's just because I'm generally very fascinated in almost every part of history. And to me, it really keeps my eyes open and helps me understand sort of who I am, where I'm coming from, where I stand in the wider picture of the world, and it helps give me perspective on my life, where I stand, and how different my life is to a lot of people's, because I think when you do live somewhere, especially like in the UK, where as a woman you have wonderful rights to education and you actually are treated pretty damn well, there's still a lot of ways to go before men and women are actually treated equally, but reading non-fiction can really remind you how lucky you are and embrace the fact that things are different in different places and therefore the need to act differently. And that can be either putting things in a historical perspective or a modern wider perspective, and it really does help me to understand the world that I live in. And I also love variety. I couldn't be one of these readers who reads almost entirely young adult fiction or almost entirely sci-fi and fantasy, because I would just get very bored. I like reading about things that are widely different, and I really want to just discover new worlds. And you can do that in fiction, and I do. I love fiction and I do read a fair amount of it, but I think because in non-fiction books the accounts are true to a certain extent, at least they're at least how someone felt things were, and it really brings things alive in a way that fiction, because it is fiction, doesn't do for me. And I think the biggest thing I've heard of about people not wanting to read non-fiction or being scared of non-fiction is that it's boring or there's just not anything they're interested in. And I really think that people just don't know enough about non-fiction if that's what they believe, because non-fiction is probably one of the broadest genres that there is, if it could be called a genre, group of books, because it's about everything. You can have books like the one I've been reading at the moment, The Mighty Dead, Why Homer Matters, which is, I'm struggling through so far, it's not that great, but it is about why a historic poet matters today. Or you can then pick up something like Jane Campbell's fun books, Weird Things Customers Say in Bookshops. These are non-fiction. They are short, they're fun, they're really enjoyable, and they will make you laugh and cry if you're a book lover. And then the other book that I'm reading at the moment is Agatha Christie's Autobiography, which is beautifully written, at least as well written as her crime or mystery novels, which I adore, and I just think this is absolutely wonderful. So it's not, they don't have to be really academically challenging and terrifying. You can get really beautifully well written books that really do push you intellectually without being boring or dry, and I think especially recently there's been a lot of very, very good books published where people have realised that if you're buying non-fiction, you probably don't want to be condescended to, and you probably do actually want to learn, but you're reading it for enjoyment as well, so it does need to be well written. And I've got a few here just to show you a little bit of the variety that you could be reading, and if anything appeals to you, there will be a book out there that you would enjoy, so I'd really recommend having a look. Just a little example of the sort of things: The End of Night by Paul Bogard, which is looking at the effect of artificial light on wildlife and humans, because the night is meant to be dark and artificial light is damaging to us and doesn't actually make us safer statistically, but hey ho. And then we have talking about Jane Austen in Baghdad, which really appeals to me. I'm a huge Jane Austen fan, so I love to pick up non-fiction about her or about people's experiences with her. And hopefully this will be a little bit more intellectually rigorous than the one I read recently, which was All Roads Lead to Austen, which was very good fun, but not very in-depth. And then Alison Weir's The Six Wives of Henry VIII. So really, there is just such a wide range. I mean, you can just have a little look for some of the things, and you can even have beautiful, beautiful books that are a pleasure aesthetically. This is Jane Austen cover to cover, which is all about the different books, that the covers that were released throughout the years, and it's just absolutely stunning. So if you like anything like graphic novels, there are plenty of books like this that do have beautiful illustrations and yet do teach you something, do show you new aspects, and are just absolutely wonderful. So those are sort of the main reasons why I absolutely love reading non-fiction books. Obviously you can see, obviously there's lots of fiction this side of me, and I do love reading fiction books, but to open my eyes and to keep pushing myself intellectually, which is something that I think is really important, then it's got to be non-fiction. So if you have any questions, please leave them down below, and I'll see you in a video soon. Bye!